Okay. So, welcome back, Dad. Thank you for continuing to make yourself available for these sessions.
Oh, thank you for the initiative.
Good, good, good. So, in terms of these sessions, really just going chronologically through your life, we had
Yeah,
completed on England and Germany, and we had started with you landing in Canada. You flew with the military to Canada. So let's
yeah.
pick it there. How old are you? What was the trip on the airplane like? Where did you land? How were you received? All of that kind of thing.
Okay, I'm 34 years old when I get a flight with Royal Air Force to Gander in Newfoundland. There, I had made arrangements to book a flight from Gander to Toronto. And that went fine. It was one of these flights that can I keep going? Okay. Yeah, it was one of these flights that stopped at several times along the way. I forgot what they call those flights. Something hop, short hop flights. Anyway, eventually arrived in Toronto. Did you settle down now?
Sorry about that, Dad. The dishwasher was loud in the background. I was concerned that the
Okay.
was picking up the sound of the dishwasher, so I decided to move.
Okay. So should I restate what I did?
Oh, it's all recording. I thought you would just continue as I moved.
Yeah, well, I wasn't sure. I like when you're paying attention. So, yes, I finally arrived in Toronto, and I was met by my good friend Dickie Vincent, known to you as Uncle Dickie. I spent the evening at their house, and the following day he drove me down to Aunt Joni, who was living here at the time. Aunt Joni and Uncle Bob. And by that time, my cousin Tony was here and had arranged for a basement apartment for us. So sometime after I arrived, I took over the basement apartment.
How long had Uncle Tony been in Toronto?
Oh, I don't recall. It had been all over the place. It was in Liverpool when we were there at one time. He came to London, stayed over at Aunt Una. So he was a traveling person at the time, but he was based here. So that's my arrival.
Based in Toronto. I
Right?
know at one point he was based in Toronto. I know at one point he was in Guelph, Ontario, going to university there.
He went to university in Guelph, and then he left and went to New York,
Oh, okay.
where he studied the, what he did, what do you call that? Being an author, writer,
Okay. He studied literature?
whatever this
English.
school, I forget what they call it. What they call it again?
Journal.
Anyway, journalism, not, no,
Studied
mostly
English. Theater. Oh,
theater, which
was
included some writing and that sort of thing.
okay. Playwright. Okay.
Yeah, playwright is the term for what he did. But he did quite a few things after he went home to Jamaica. But he was there at the time, and I was pleased to have him because he was the one who took me to the Ministry of, of Immigration the following morning, and there it was that they, being a landed immigrant, they took the responsibility for settling me and sent me to an interview for a job.
And
I
how did
interviewed for that job and did take the job because it was important that I have a job in order to search for an apartment for us.
yes.
And in order to do that, I needed to get furniture for the apartment. So I went to a store at the time that did furniture, and I was able to get furniture from them on credit through a financing company called Household Finance.
You still remember the name of the financing
Yeah,
company?
I remember it. It came back to long-term memory. Household Finance, I went to a bank and opened an account. I think Aunt Madge took me to her bank and I opened an account there. And the long and short of it is that I started working at a company called Neon Signs. They made neon signs. And to be honest with you, the gentleman who hired me figured I wouldn't stay very long because I was overqualified. They made wired neon signs and things like that. While I was there, I got an injury to my left hand, and that was the end of that job. I was here, and the Ministry of Immigration or the government made me gave me an allowance and that sort of thing. In other words, provided financial assistance for me while I waited for you guys to show up. And this is because I was now injured and could not go back to work. Then your mother and you and Angela and Diane arrived on an Air Force flight in Ottawa, RAF Uplands Air Force Base, and got a flight from Air Canada to Toronto. I don't remember the details, but I'm sure I met you and we all moved into the apartment.
For some reason, I thought we flew over on a military plane.
No,
Oh.
Yeah, you flew over to Gander on a military plane. Oh no,
Okay.
sorry. You flew over, yes, you flew over a military plane to Uplands in Ottawa,
Oh, we flew into Ottawa.
into Ottawa. I went into to Nova Scotia, whatever, Gander.
New Gander,
You
Newfoundland.
went into, yeah, you guys came into Uplands Air Force Base in Ottawa
Oh,
and
okay.
flew from there, Air Canada from there to Toronto.
Okay. Got it.
Okay, and well, I can't remember. I didn't own a car or anything like that at the time, so it would have been with one of my friends or Uncle Dickie or somebody. But met you guys, and we moved into the apartment, basement apartment on Witchwood Avenue.
Yeah, many years later, I on my own moved into a basement apartment on Witchwood Avenue
Yes,
when I was
yes.
about 29.
Yeah, well, I was there on, we were at Witchwood Avenue, and it was at Witchwood Avenue that going through the newspaper one morning, your mom saw a job with General Electric and said, "Here, Eddie, does it look like a job for you?" By that time, I had been injured out of the first job, and I didn't go back. And like I said, the government
What
immigration sort
what
of
what happened to injure you at the first job? The neon sign job.
the neon sign job. I got an injury in my left palm.
What happened?
And I was drilling something, and piece of metal spun around and cut me.
Okay.
And I had to I had to give the job up, and I had no plans to go back because they had already told me I was overqualified for the job. So there we are,
So
and in the,
let me ask you just about the injury. So
yeah,
you're working for the neon sign job. You're doing
yes,
you're doing connections or whatever you're doing in terms of the
yes,
electrical.
we're wiring neon signs.
Okay, so you're wiring the neon signs as part,
Yes,
there's some power tools and some power
that's
drills.
right. There are power tools and that involved.
And as a result of that, something lodged into the palm of your hand.
Yeah, a piece of metal I was drilling spun into my left hand and cut it.
Oh, okay, so you got a cut
Cut my palm.
in the palm of your hand. Did it require stitches?
I don't recall. I don't
Okay.
recall. I got some treatment, but and it took a while to heal.
How long did it take to heal?
Oh, I guess could have been 3 or 4 weeks.
Okay.
Because
And
you guys did not arrive immediately after me.
so during that time with the hand issue, the injured hand, and you weren't able to, so you were not making money, or were you getting some kind of sick pay?
I was getting assistance from the government because I was a landed immigrant, and until I was settled in a job, they took the responsibility for my upkeep.
Okay. Yeah.
So that went on for a few weeks, I believe even after you guys got here.
Okay.
And then we saw the job at General Electric. I went for an interview. It went well. The gentleman who was the chief engineer at the time, his name was John Kronovich. He told me that he'd been looking for somebody with my skills for about 6 months. So if I wanted to start, I could start right away. I think this was a Thursday. I told him I would start on the Monday. So I started working on the Monday. You guys were settled in the basement apartment. I was taking the streetcar and the bus. The plant was on Dufferin Street, just south of King Street.
Oh, way downtown.
Yes, but you know, the bus took you all the way down.
Hmm.
Took the streetcar across on St. Clair and then caught the bus at Dufferin, and the bus took you right down to Queen and King and Dufferin, and I'd walk the rest of the way in.
Yeah, there used to be quite the industrial area. Now a lot of that area has been taken over by, condominiums and things.
Yeah, I haven't been in that area for years,
Yeah, I
but
think for offices, some of the industrial buildings, I think, have been turned into office buildings, and
yeah, I can
I
imagine.
don't think much industrial in there down around there anymore.
Yeah, it was very close to the Gardner Expressway and just north of the Ontario Place. The exhibition, Ontario Exhibition
That
Place.
exhibition, I have
Yeah.
only personally taken the St. Clair streetcar and then the Dufferin bus down to.
Okay, so you can relate.
Absolutely.
You can relate, Jackie. Yeah, so there it was.
Can I ask you a
Worked.
question?
Yeah, go ahead.
How many bedrooms were there in the basement apartment?
2 bedrooms.
Bedrooms. So you and mom in one room and then all four kids in the other room? Three, I guess it would have
No, it's quite possible that you as a baby were in the bedroom with us in a
been.
cot, in a crib.
Okay, so Diana
Diane, Diane
sharing.
and Angela was in the other bedroom. It was a
Gotcha.
nice basement apartment, actually. It was quite roomy. But I unfortunately had to leave there
I'm really
because,
curious which number on Witchwood you were, because many years later, I lived in a basement apartment in a triplex on Witchwood. I wonder, I wonder if there's any chance it was the same building.
it could have been, I'd have to look up the address.
Would be interesting. That would be interesting to find out.
Yeah. I'm not sure it was a triplex though. I think it was a duplex.
So
I
there was
think it
only
was a
one,
duplex. Huh?
so there was only one other unit in the building?
Yes, we were in the basement and the people, I think they were from one of they could have been Jewish, from Poland. They're Polish.
Okay.
Polish Jews, I think.
Oh, okay. And they had all of the upstairs? They had first and second floor of the
They
upstairs?
owned the building. They
Oh,
owned
so
the
it was just
building.
with a house with a basement apartment.
Yes, it was a house with a basement apartment.
Oh, okay, got you. Whereas I lived in a place that was three.
Yeah, no, we moved to a triplex after that.
Oh,
And we
okay,
were on the top floor, but this was the family who owned the building, and we were in the basement.
got you.
Unfortunately, I had a falling out with them, and that's why I left.
What was the falling out over?
I would pay her every Friday. And for some reason, there was a Friday when I didn't get paid.
Mm,
And she came knocking Saturday morning asking for the rent. And I said I wasn't paid.
mm-hmm,
And she went on really lousy as if I was trying to rip her off.
mm,
And that's when I got really angry and said, you know what? I don't need to live here anymore.
mm,
I can't remember. I think it's possible that I didn't go to work the Friday for some reason, and I didn't get paid until the following. I used to get paid, go to the bank, draw. No, I actually got paid late. I worked overtime, and I didn't get to lodge my check at the bank. I would go to the bank on a Friday and I would deposit the check and I would take the rent and whatever money I needed and I would come and give her the cash.
Okay.
She came the Saturday morning and asked me, and I said, I worked late and when I got to the bank, it was closed.
And back then, banks weren't open on Saturdays. You had to wait until the following week.
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
But, and they came, she and her daughter came bothering me. And I was out of order, you know, because I used a term, well, I forgot what I called them, but
You
it was
called
the term, eh?
you called them a name?
Yes,
Oh, shame.
yes, I called them wasn't a rude name, it was a derogatory name for people coming from those places, from Poland, what they used to call them.
Polak?
No, no.
There's another name for
Like both people, but another term for both people.
refugee?
Similar, but not quite.
I have no idea.
Well, I can't think of it right now, but later on I was ashamed. But that was I came from the military and you had to stand up for yourself, and that sort of thing. And there she was dunning me for the money and this and that.
How long had you lived there?
Oh, a couple of months,
Okay.
but I used to pay her weekly.
Right.
So I gave her notice. I said, I don't want to live here anymore. And I
Right.
went looking for another apartment, and I found one in a triplex,
Yes.
and I got the top floor.
Better than the basement.
Oh yeah, better than the basement. It was a triplex. Not only that, I believe it was a 3 bedroom.
Okay. So more space.
Yeah, it was a 3 bedroom because we were there for a while, and all our visitors used to have, would have a visitor's room.
Oh, wow.
Yes, would
That's
have a room,
I don't
a
even have
room
a
for them.
guest room. I mean, I do. It's my
Yeah,
office.
but Aunt Jean and Uncle Gladwig came. We were there for a few years.
And where was that was also on Witchwood?
No, that was on Dufferin Street, off Dufferin Street. Can't remember the name of the place. Witchwood Avenue. No, Witchwood Avenue is where we were. I
Right.
can't remember the name of this place, but it was in the Eglinton Dufferin area.
Okay. Okay.
Eglinton Dufferin area. And yeah, while I was there, actually, Aunt Maud visited us
Oh,
from
wow.
Jamaica.
Very nice.
Yes, and that's when she was coming, I decided I had to get a car so that I could drive her around.
Mm.
So I got a car. My first car in Canada was a Chevrolet Biscayne,
Was that the purple car?
the purple car.
Maroon, I guess it was. Purpley
Yeah, I
maroon.
have it in pictures somewhere, it's showing parked at Chipper Clipper Road. It's in one of those slides.
And it was a used car. I remember that car. It was a used car when you bought it, yes?
Yes, and
Do you
I bought all used cars.
do you recall how old it was when you bought it? Like 2 years, 3 years?
Oh gosh, it might have been about 3 years old, but it had an accident, and the guy I bought it from was one of these people who repaired cars like that and resold them.
Okay, okay.
And it was somebody I met through Uncle Dickie. I
Ah, okay.
believe he might have been involved in the business as well. But they used to take cars that had accidents and repair them.
Okay.
So I remember I paid $1,200 for that car.
What?
Yes.
That's a whole heap of money back then.
Yes, but it was a car. It wasn't that old, but because it had
Yeah.
had the accident,
I mean, you can still buy a car for $1,200.
yeah, I know. I remember that a new car was about 3,000
Right. Okay.
at the
Okay.
time.
That's like looking at a new car at 30,000 and paying 12,000 for it, and paying
Yeah,
12 for a used car. So yeah, that's like paying
yeah.
$12,000 a used car.
And I had that car all the way through until I was working for Marcel. That car, I had it a while. I had it a good while. It saw a lot of Niagara Falls and things like that.
I remember that car. I very much remember that car.
And that was followed by the white station wagon.
Yes. Yeah.
Anyway,
we
so
we can have a conversation just about your cars one of these days.
one of these days, all the cars right through till I bought a new car.
Right, right. Yeah,
Anyway,
do that next time, Dad. Next time, let's have a car conversation.
we can wherever you want to go. Anyway, we are working at
General
General
Electric.
Electric. I am a technician and I'm working on machines that make light bulbs.
Mm,
The the equipment building, equipment assembly building was my branch. It was a little set apart from the rest of GE. And that's all we did is build these machines and they go out to the Oakville plant where they produce the light bulbs.
okay.
But we did the machines that built the light bulbs.
Right.
It was an
So,
interesting job actually. And my skills at the time fell right in. But of course, I didn't have Canadian experience, but I was coping along. And I think I told you the story already of working there for a while, um, gaining my Canadian experience, and I'm gaining industrial experience because all of my experience at the time was on aircraft. And I would have been better off if I could have gone to an aircraft company. But Air Canada, like I said before, was the maintenance plant was located in Montreal. And
okay.
I didn't speak French. So I chose to make the change to industrial. And I got that opportunity with General Electric because, my training fitted quite well with that, except that it was non-aircraft. So I'm in it for a while. There's a Scotsman who is doing the same work that I do. And I discovered how much he was making and realized I was making much less. So I challenged the boss, the chief engineer, and you remember the term I used?
Have you no scruples?
Right. You saw my qualifications when I joined. I have worked on more sophisticated equipment than this. And here you are, you're paying me less. Have you no scruples? He was Polish fella, but I guess he'd pretty much come as a young man and got his engineering degrees here and everything. John Kronovich. John, when I said it to him, I could see, you know, he sort of stopped him in his tracks. And I guess I was maybe speaking a little, sounding like an Englishman rather than a Jamaican. Anyway, he said, okay, we'll see about that. And the reason I was there actually was I had complained to the foreman of my department. I said, I understand that I'm not getting the same pay as the other fellow. Why not? And he said, well, it's not up to me. And he went and made a complaint to Kronovich, and Kronovich called me, told him to bring me up. So he took me over there and he said, okay, you can leave us together. And I told him, I said, look, you know my training, you know my background. How could you really, I was a good couple of grades below this other fella and I was doing the same work. So he said, okay, we're going to give you a project, and based on that, we'll see. And they gave me a project which I had no problem doing. I had no problem doing. And of course, the Scotsman was very upset that I was now getting the same pay as him. But he had to realize, you know, he recognized the qualifications I came with. He knew because they were English qualifications. So he became a good friend after that, actually. As a matter of fact, he got sick. He was an older guy, and he got sick, and I had to carry that department. I did all of his work. But it helped me buy Clipper Road because I got a lot of overtime.
So helped you buy the first house.
Oh, yes, I got a lot of overtime, Jackie. I was working 6 days a week constant for about a year because this guy was sick. Was off sick, and I guess he was on long-term money, so he didn't care to come back. Well, it's a good guy. As a matter of fact, I remember he giving me, when I bought our first house, he gave me a lawnmower. He had two lawnmowers. He'd gotten a new one, and he gave me the old one.
That's still nice to get, for sure.
Yes, and not only that, we drove the same car. He had a purple car like mine. So the two electrical guys
That's funny.
had the two purple cars.
That's funny. The same Biscayne.
Yes. Yeah, and I went to his home a few times to
So
look
his
for him.
also a purple Biscayne.
Purple Biscayne.
That is so
But
funny.
I believe his was oh, there's a difference between us, between them.
One was newer.
His might have been a Bel Air. They look the same except the Biscayne. This might have been a Bel Air.
Okay.
Yeah, Jock. I know I can't even remember his last name, but you know you call Scotsman Jock.
No, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah,
So I have a
J-O-C-K.
so my question is around the apartments.
Yes,
The first apartment in the basement at Witchwood, then the second apartment
it was
at
the
the
top floor.
top floor in the triplex. What was it like for Mom? What do you recall Mom saying in terms of, was she comfortable in the first apartment and the second apartment? Was she pushing to move? Did she
No,
not?
no, she was, you know, we were new. She was younger then, no complaints. You know, we were a family trying to, not only that, Aunt Joni was here. So once Aunt Joni used to babysit you guys, Aunt Joni and Bob, because at the time Aunt Joni came here um, at the hospital. Was it the children? She worked at hospital for a while, but then she didn't bother. Uncle Bob was working as a mechanic for a gas station garage, but they
So
would
she was
babysit you
working.
guys.
For some reason, I assumed that mom was staying home with the kids, but she was working?
No, she was staying home for a while, but then when did she start to work?
I mean, I know she worked at Clipper Road, but before Clipper Road
I
at
don't
Witchwood and then,
remember. I don't remember. She maybe started working around at the Dufferin place.
okay.
Maybe. And she
Oh,
would take the bus. It was convenient for her. And I would babysit you kids. So I'm still working at General Electric. And I got it in my head through, in the meantime, on a weekend, we used to drive around and look at houses. There are a lot of new houses, and they were going through a spell when houses weren't selling. So these
oh,
people were buying houses, were building houses, and real estate people were pushing hard. But on a Sunday afternoon, we'd put you guys in the car and we'd drive into these subdivisions. And we got up to the subdivision of Huntingwood and looking into houses, and along comes this black woman, Jamaican. Hi, folks. Hi, folks. Looking for a house?
Mrs.
And I said,
Ray.
Mrs.
Wasn't it Mrs. Ray?
Mrs. Rigg, yes. Hi, folks. Looking for a house. We're a sales lady. And we said, you're kidding? We can't afford to buy a house. Anyways, just like the salesperson that she was, she called me. I got home the night, the phone rang, and it is Mrs. Rick. Mr. Lawrence, just calling to see, I might be able to assist you in getting a house. Are you working? Is your wife working? Whatever, all the questions. I said, yes, but we don't have that kind of savings yet. How much money do you have? I said, I don't even know. We're trying to save towards it, but we have about $1,000. She said, and we went through that. She said, you could get one of these houses, but you'd need to get a loan. Can't you get a loan where you work? And I said, well, I can try. By that time, Jackie, I had signed up with
Credit union.
the credit union. So I was in the credit union. I'd been maybe working there a year or so at the time, 2 years. And I said, let's go try the credit union. So I go to the credit union and I said, I'd like to borrow, I think I needed $3,000 as a down payment. And they said, you're kidding? You just started to work here. You don't know whether you get laid off or anything like that. And you're wanting to borrow money. And so they turned me down. But guess what, Jackie? You might have heard this story before. Guess who was in charge of the credit union?
Your boss.
My boss, John Kronovich. So he comes into my department, comes up to my desk and says, so you're getting on, man? I said, I'm doing all right, except for your goddamn credit union. I went for a loan. He said, "What do you want a loan for? Buy a car?" I said, "No, to buy a house." And he said, "Those stupid people. If you're buying a car, I could understand them turning you down. But you're buying a house, you can't run with a house. Come and see me on Saturday morning and bring your wife with you." And the Saturday morning I was there, I walked out with a check jacket and I called Mrs. Rigg. And the next thing you know, man, I'm in Clipper Road. I'm in Clipper Road, still a struggle. And of
So
course,
what did Mom think of all of this?
oh, she was all keen. I can't remember her response, but those were the days when she didn't give me any, she just followed the flow. And
Oh my goodness.
no, it's been
God bless.
following. I made all these decisions, Jackie, and I always turned out to be good. So why would she be? She just, like I told you, she's the one who saw the job in the newspaper and said, "Hey, this look like a job, you know." And this is what I got accustomed to on cooperation with me. So there you go.
There you
So
go. So how
next
long
thing,
were you in the three-bedroom apartment at that point?
eh?
How long had you been in the three-bedroom apartment, the triplex?
We must have been there a couple of years, Jackie.
Okay.
I was, I've been there. 'Cause I went there. I didn't have a car. I actually got a car when I've been there for a few months. I decided, and the reason I got the car was because Aunt Maud was coming to visit, and I wanted to be able to drive her to places and things like that.
Right. Well, I'll
But
tell you my very first memories in life. My very, very first memories in life
yes,
are in the moving truck moving to Clipper Road.
moving to
Sitting
Clipper.
beside moving to Clipper, sitting beside you and Mom, the front of the moving truck, and then sleeping on a mattress in the floor that night. My very first memories.
Imagine that, eh? How old would you be then?
I would have been 3.
3. Just like my memory, but my memory came later. I maybe have little glimpses. But my main memory was that one running from school, about 4 years old.
Mm.
Yeah, so so that's it, Jackie. Mr. Kronovich, man, walk out with a check and buy a house. House not selling, Jackie. Beat down house. House was asking 53 something. Got it for 50,500.
That was
But
Pawnee. You only paid 35,000 for Clipper.
35. Yes. Yes, 30,000 or something. I beat them down. And I had to take a second mortgage, first
Wow.
and second. And the second mortgage was with a Jewish couple somewhere, and we just used to have to send the money. I didn't understand how mortgages worked at the time. But the first mortgage and then a second mortgage to top it up.
Right, right. Because you didn't have enough of a down payment.
Yeah, but there come a time when I was able to pay off the second.
Good.
Pay off the second, and we were doing all right. Mom was working then. She working back in
Did you
Nova
feel
Scotia.
did you feel financially stressed after buying the house?
Mm, no, don't remember having to beg or borrow. I still had, I had my loan on the furniture and I paying that off. And Mrs. Reed took me to the bank. I was still paying household finance on the furniture while when we moved into Clipper.
Clip.
And she said, "What? Let me take you to my bank, man. Household finance is charging me big interest." And you know, I took me to a bank man and introduced me to a bank manager. And the next thing you know, man, I pay off household finance with a loan from the bank, and I'm paying less money at the bank now and a
Mm,
lower interest until I paid it all off.
good.
Now, in the meantime, Jackie, Mrs. Rigg was there. I finished the basement and rent it.
Was that your idea or her idea?
It would have been her idea, and that's a lot of people used to do that in those days.
Mm.
Rent the basement apartment. That's how we met Auntie Pearlie. She was living on the same road in somebody's basement apartment. That's
Okay.
Auntie Lois's sister.
Okay.
So, you know, a lot of people used to do that then.
A lot of people still do that.
Yes.
Basement apartments are very popular in Toronto.
Well, that's what I did with the lodge too. Yes, so Jackie, we did all right. You know, we met a few people there and all that sort of thing. I joined the lodge and, you know, just living thing there till you start to go to school. We were there for what? You maybe know better than I do.
I moved there when I was 3, and we left when I was mm, six or
Eight.
7.
Oh, my recollection is that we were there 5 years.
I don't, mm, because I went to, let's see, I went to grade 2. We were bused to that school down by York Mills. I can't remember the name of that school. And I would have been in grade 2, so I would have been 7 being bused from the from Pawnee, waiting for the Cherokee Public School to open. So it would have
What
been less than 5 years. It would have been about 4 years.
what I remember is that mom was doing key punching and she was working day and no, no, sorry. She was working for Weston's Bakery.
Okay.
Weston's Bakery doing same key punching. And I would go meet her, pick her up at the and then she left there and she got a job at Bank of Nova Scotia, but it was an evening job.
Okay.
And the evening job suited, yes, I used to pick her up from work. I would finish at 3:30 and go to Western Bakery and pick her up.
And this is at
We were living at Clipper by then.
okay. I think we can wrap up for the evening, Dad.
Yeah? What
Yeah,
time is it?
9 o'clock, eight
Well,
fifty.
you sure?
It's 8:59. Yeah. So what I'd like to do is next session, we'll have a car session. And then the following session, we'll pick up with Clipper Road and
Okay.
really get into Clipper Road, like all of the people you met there,
Yes.
lived, all the different families, sending the
Yes.
kids, starting to send the kids to Melrose Church, all of that.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So we'll get into that in 2 weeks. But next week we'll do cars.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Well, I'm not as I know that I have my first vaccine. I'm not. I think I'm going to be around.
Good, good, good.
Finish this.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah. Okay, let me stop the recording.
Okay.
It's
Well,
3,
you only did an hour.
yeah. Going forward, I think we can go with just an hour.